What's up, everyone? Welcome to Prop Drop. I'm your host, Sean Koerner, aka the Oddsmaker, and I'm taking a break from my Saturday projections process to drop a few official props that I've found so far. My first prop will be the London game, of course. Love giving out my first prop for the London game between the Jaguars and Bears. It'll be a completion prop. So while you're getting to that, just a reminder that if you want access to all of Action Pro's projections, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription that is currently on sale. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from yours truly and other members of the Action Analytics team. You'll also get access to exclusive expert articles, our best spread, money line, and total bets, and real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code PROPS20 at signup. One more time, that's PROPS20 at signup for $20 off. All right, as promised, we're going to the London game for my first prop. This is a completions prop, and I'm going with Trevor Lawrence. Under 21 and a half completions. You can get it at -110 over at DraftKings right now. Last week was actually the first time Lawrence cleared this number. Of course, it was against the Colts. That's probably why. I believe they only generated one pressure against him. So he had a, clean pocket all day. He's one of four quarterbacks that have cleared this number against the Colts this year. The only quarterback that didn't clear 21 and a half against the Colts was Malik Willis back in week 2 when we had the under on his passing yards. And, the Packers ran the ball like 50 times. So usually the Colts are a good team to invest on completions props. The Bears, on the other hand, are a much tougher test. The only quarterback that has cleared this number against them was C.J. Stroud back in week 2. They've really been a run funnel defense this year. They rank second in DVOA against the pass, 30th against the run. So I expect the Jaguars to lean on the run game here as much as they can, especially with, backup Tank Bigsby just having a breakout season in year 2. I think they're going to lean on the run here as much as they can. But there's really two underlying factors that just make it tougher for Lawrence to clear this prop on a weekly basis. The first is he throws the ball downfield a ton. He throws 10 plus yards downfield at the 4th highest rate in the league. So that means he's going to have a lower completion percentage. Plus, he's not that accurate of a passer to begin with. So he's going to have a lower completion percentage. And then when he does connect on these completions, they're going to be downfield, big gains. We actually love those when it comes to these props. The best play that can happen for this prop is for Trevor Lawrence to throw an 80-yard touchdown to open the game. That's the best thing that can happen. So he's throwing downfield. That helps this prop. The second is kind of a weird one, but it's when the Jaguars get a first down after a pass, they actually run the ball 13% higher than expected. So that's kind of a weird twist where if he gets in a groove, he throws a first down for a pass, they tend to run it the next play or two. So that really kind of limits his upside when it comes to this prop in general. So another reason is, he's only scrambled on 3% of his dropbacks this season. Last year it was closer to 7%. So I think going forward, he's going to scramble a bit more. That's going to help here as well. So I'm projecting him closer to 20 completions with about, 61% chance he stays under 21 and a half here. All right, for my second prop, going to the Bucks Saints game. This is a passing yards prop. I'll let everyone kind of get situated, buy some time here before I give it out, but it's going to be a passing yards prop. And this is something I've been doing quite a bit this year. If you catch my drift, you probably know where I'm going here. But it's Spencer Rattler of the Saints to go under 187 and a half passing yards. You can get this at -113 over at FanDuel right now. It's really the same at most books. It's been bouncing around between, 185 to 190 and a half. Love the under here either way. Rattler gets the start here for the injured Derek Carr, which is kind of surprising. I thought they could go with Jake Haener here, but they decided to go with the rookie in Spencer Rattler. But I would not be surprised if he doesn't have, a super long leash here. So this is another one of those passing yard props where I don't think it's a guarantee he'll make it through the entire game, which kind of gives us a unique path to hit the under here, really in two different game scripts. The first is, the Saints will probably be a little bit more run heavy here with the rookie under center, going up against the Bucks. So ideally, they stay in it close. They're run heavy. Maybe they get a lead, but they really don't want him throwing it around too much. So in that game script, I think that favors the under here. We saw that, like I mentioned, back in week 2 with Malik Willis when I had his under passing yard prop. The Packers dominated that game. He didn't have to throw much. He stayed under his total, right? The other scenario is, the Saints get down. Maybe it's from Spencer Rattler making some, bad plays like an interception or a fumble or something like that. So if they get down due to him struggling, it's more likely that we see Jake Haener come in to replace him. So in that situation, typically we worry about a trailing pass heavy game script, but that could just result in him getting benched here. We've seen that come through for us with various props in the past few weeks. Jacoby Brissett, Will Levis, Gardner Minshew last week bailed us out by throwing an interception and getting benched when it looked like he was going to go over his prop. So again, I think this is a unique prop where there's two different paths for him to stay under this. Plus, he's probably going to tap in his rushing upside more than people realize. He scrambled on 11% of his dropbacks in preseason. Could see him doing that a lot here, especially if the Buccaneers bring the blitz, which they do a ton. So love the under here. I'm projecting him closer to, minus one or 175 passing yards, but it's really hard to set a line on this because he does have such a low floor because, again, it's not a guarantee he will make it through the entire game. So give me Spencer Rattler under 187.5 passing yards. All right, so for my final prop, I'll give everyone an over. Let's have some fun here. And I'm going to the Commanders Ravens game. This is a receiving yards prop. I'm not glitching out. I'm just letting everybody get some time before I give this out, but it's going to be an over receiving yards prop in this game. That it should be a shootout. The total's over 50. So we could see, a ton of yards in this one. This will be a fun game to have an over, and I think I found the perfect prop to sweat here, and that's Zach Ertz of the Commanders to go over 27.5 receiving yards. You can get this at minus 113 over at FanDuel. And, the Commanders, they're 6.5-point road dogs here against the Ravens this week. So we could see, a trailing game script for the Commanders finally since week 1. We really haven't seen one. So we could see the Commanders throw the ball a lot more here due to the trailing game script. So not only will this, added pass volume potentially help Ertz, he should also see more playing time in a potential trailing game script. He plays 78% of their pass plays when they're leading, but that shoots up to 88% of their pass plays when they're trailing. And a lot of that is due to the Commanders using a lot more 11 personnel, so 3 wide receiver sets with 1 tight end when they're trailing. And that's really the formation they use Ertz in the most. So again, if they get down, he's going to be out there a lot more. He leads the team in targets when trailing with 8. So this is just a perfect game script for him. Potentially, again, if the Commanders lead all game, it's not going to be as good for him, but we're banking on the 6.5-point spread being somewhat accurate here. But the Ravens, they've allowed 6 different tight ends. We're only in week 5 right now. They've allowed 6 different tight ends to clear this number. I think Ertz will be the 7th this week. So give me over 27.5 receiving yards. I'm projecting this closer to 33.5 with about a 62% chance he clears 27.5. Just love his upside, just in playing time and target potential here. All right, that's going to do it for my props, but we do have a new special segment here, a mailbag segment where I took a few questions that everyone had about, certain props or other angles that we're looking into, that I'm looking into this week. And for the first question, this is from Maddie Muscles. I gotta say, like 97% of the questions I got this week were somehow involving Drake May. I don't know what's going on here. Everybody wants to know about Drake May. So His question was, who on New England has the most value to go over receptions or yards now that Drake May is starting? So let me just address this at a high level. I think, the prop to really attack with May was probably his rushing yards prop when it opened. I think it opened around 13.5. It's all the way up to 28.5 now. I'm projecting him closer to 25 rushing yards. So I'm not going to be on his under here either, just because I'm showing a few yards of value. He's going to be scrambling at a pretty high rate, and I think just considering this is debut, he'll probably lean on his rushing upside even more. So I think the market was correct in, shooting his rushing yard prop up, close to 15 yards here. Um, However, that means he's probably not going to be throwing as much as we'd like. I think he's going to be a much more aggressive passer, especially downfield, than Jacoby Brissett. I think over the long run, this is going to help Jalen Polk the most. He is, their rookie wide receiver that's getting the most playing time. So I think the QB change will probably help Polk the most. But again, if Drake May's out there scrambling a lot, it's going to take away from, even Polk's potential targets. So plus, Kendrick Bourne just returned from the IR last week. He might see more playing time this week. He could eat into Polk or Douglas's target share. It's a really murky situation. So again, I think the play here was to just take Drake May's over rushing yards before it ballooned up to 28.5. Other than that, I'm just sort of in wait and see mode when it comes to Drake May or the Patriot pass catcher props. I think there's a lot of moving pieces there. Hopefully, we have a lot more clarity on after his debut this week. All right, so the second question, this is from Mr. Mitchell Lee, and he just asked about rookie A.D. Mitchell of the Colts. So I'm going to take it from there. The Colts, the Colts are a no-fly zone for me this week when it comes to props. I mean, I'm assuming Anthony Richardson will be under center, although we just have to double check that he's, ready to go tomorrow. But when it comes to whether it's Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco under center for the Colts, that changes my overall passing yard projection for the Colts by 40 to 50 yards. So the fact that we have, some vague clarity on the QB situation is already a concern for me when it comes to attacking these props. But, Michael Pittman the other day, it was announced that he might go on IR, so he'd miss, 4+ games. But yesterday, he got in practice and looks like he's going to play this week. So I don't know what the hell's going on here. We don't have any props up for any pass catchers. So I will not be on any A.D. Mitchell props. I won't be on any Colts pass catcher props because even if, Anthony Richardson starts the game, and we might be more interested in some of the unders with these pass catchers, if he suffers an in-game setback and Joe Flacco comes in, that kind of burns all of our unders because Flacco's going to be throwing the ball around the yard. So just stay away from Colts pass catcher props. Thank God they're not even offering them yet, but this is just a stay away for me. If you're playing daily fantasy, throw Adonai Mitchell out there in some GPPs or something like that. He has, really high ceiling. His ownership will be low. But other than that, I'm not touching Mitchell or any other Colts pass catching props this week. All right, so our last question's from Tyler VTTP, and he asked, what's the best way to back Chase Brown this week? The Bengals running back situation is pretty weird this week. It looked like, Zach Moss was the one that would potentially miss this week with an injury. He picked up an ankle injury last week against the Ravens. He looks good to go, though. He was completely removed off the injury report. However, it's Chase Brown who's questionable with a quad injury. All signs kind of point to him suiting up. So, we'll have to double check his status. But I always think the best way to invest in Chase Brown is the over on his longest rush prop. I think that's at 14.5 right now. But this backfield, it's always tricky to kind of project how many touches Brown will get because he's definitely been outperforming Zach Moss pretty much all season, but the Bengals still kind of treat Moss as the lead back. They're still very cautious putting Chase Brown out there in pass blocking situations. So Zach Moss is still technically the lead back in this offense. So it's always tricky to kind of gauge and project how many touches. Brown will get, but when he does get touches, he's very explosive. He has 9 rush attempts of 10 plus yards on the season and just 41 attempts. So I always feel like the best way to invest in him is his longest rush prop. And he's facing a Giants defense this week that's allowed the second highest explosive run rate on the season. So this is just a perfect storm for Chase Brown to break a run at least, 14 and a half yards here. I haven't crunched all the numbers yet with him. Still waiting to see if he's officially going to be active here before, potentially making a play here. But I always think the best way to invest in him is the longest rush markets. All right, that's going to do it for the week 6 edition of Prop Drop. Thanks for joining me. Going to get back to updating my projections, locking in a handful of other props throughout the day. So be sure you're following me in our action app. You can find me at _oddsmaker. Best of luck with all of your week 6 bets, and we will see you again right here next week.